We're here today to inform and remind the general public about the latest household survey being conducted at the Department of Statistics. It's called the Household Budget Survey. It starts on April 1st, 2015 and runs through mid-December 2015. We anticipate a smooth fieldwork process, both on our part with our entire fieldwork team, but also on the part of the public, where we hope to have a successful survey, and we are depending on the cooperation and full support, especially of those households that have been selected in our sample. What is the Household Budget Survey, you may ask? It is an internationally used instrument to collect income and expenditure statistics from households. Because we hope to capture every expenditure that a household makes, this makes this survey very detailed and extensive. The expense categories that we will be monitoring include food, beverages, clothing and footwear, housing, utilities, fuel, furnishings, house maintenance, health, transport, communications, recreation and culture, education, restaurants and hotels, and personal care. Objectives of the Household Budget Survey. Firstly, we would like to determine how much is spent by a household on the different expenditure categories in order for us to calculate the inflation of St. Martin. Secondly, we want to provide information to our national accounts. In the process of determining our gross domestic product, by expenditure particularly, we would like to know what is the total consumption of the household sector on St. Martin. And thirdly, this data provides input for a satisfaction and balanced living analysis, which will determine the national poverty line on St. Martin. In the current situation, when we calculate our CPI, our Consumer Price Index, and inflation, we look at the total expenditure of a household. In this pie chart, this represents basically the total budget of a household. Back in 2005, when the last household budget survey was done, we see here that 39% of the household budget went towards housing. 20% went towards transportation and communication, while 10% went towards food. We expect as a department that over the past 10-year period, this distribution might have changed quite a bit. We are not approaching the entire population of St. Martin during this survey. However, we have a sample of approximately 1,000 households. It is a simple stratified sample, which means every address has the same chance of being chosen. The addresses have been selected according to the density of the districts on St. Martin, which was determined during our 2011 population census. And every household can be selected irregardless of the legal status of the residents within the household. So what can a household expect during the household budget survey? Firstly, their participation will last for 14 consecutive days. As I mentioned before, this survey is quite detailed and extensive. The questionnaire is actually two-part. In the first part, we ask a retrospective questionnaire which covers the 11 categories that I mentioned before. Because of this, the interviewer will visit the household at least 4 times during the first week to get through these 11 forms. Secondly, the household is also given an expense diary where we ask them to monitor their current expenditures during the 14 days. So the interviewer will come back in the second week at least twice to support the household and remind them to save their receipts. Everything that is bought, we would like them to track it in the expense diary as well as save their receipts. On average, one visit will last about 1 hour during the first week. As a token of our appreciation and realizing that this survey, will take a lot out of both our interviewers but also the household, we are extending a redeemable voucher to the household, and this can be redeemed at any one of our partners, Sunny Foods, Le Grand Marché, Costules, UTS, or Tele. We have a confirmation process, and that is particularly because this survey is quite different from the other surveys that we've done in the past, such as the census or the labor force survey, where the interviewer would knock on the door and that would be the first contact that they would have with the household. Because this survey is extensive and different in many ways, we have a confirmation process whereby the household will receive a letter and a brochure beforehand, Our fieldwork section would also contact the household to confirm who the reference person is. This is the person that will give the information on behalf of the household to the interviewers during the survey period. We'll also make a follow-up phone call just to let the household know exactly when their participation during the entire 8-month survey period will take place, and also give them the name of the exact interviewer that will come to their home. Households have the right to let us know if they would prefer to have a different interviewer sent to their home for whatever reason. What happens to my data? Many households are concerned about, what happens to my data? The confidential nature of your data is regulated in the National Ordinance on Statistics. STAT and its interviewers are all bound to a confidentiality agreement. Your individual data will not be shared with any third party. Names are only recorded on paper, but again, that is for the ease of the conversation between the household and the interviewer. Names are never entered into our database. We will request receipts, payslips, and GB bills from the household, but remember, this is only for verification purposes.
So Sabrina, we're going to do Form 3 today. It's about finances and social support. Okay?
Okay, no problem.
So how much of a burden are the following expenses on your household? Electricity, heavy burden, some burden, little burden, no burden at all?
Electricity, little burden.
Little burden. And water?
Yeah, little burden.
Rent?
That's a high burden.
Heavy burden. Mortgage?
No.
No, meaning no burden at all?
No, not applicable.
Not applicable. Oh, you don't have rent. I mean mortgage. Okay. Cable?
Nothing much. Just what's the options?
So,
Light
heavy burden, some burden, little burden, or no burden?
Little burden, you can say.
Okay. And internet?
Little burden.
Little burden.
Yeah.
School fees?
Don't have no kids.
Don't have no children. Health costs?
No burden really.
No burden. Okay.
I would say.
Food costs?
Yeah, food prices are expensive,
Yeah,
so I would say heavy burden.
Heavy burden. And any other household costs that you may have?
Not that I can think of. We covered the rent and
Okay,
yeah,
so
that's
not
the big
applicable.
ones.
Okay. Have there been times during the past 12 months when your household was seriously behind in paying within the time allowed for any of the following items? Electricity?
No.
No. Water?
No.
Rent?
No.
No. Mortgage is not applicable. Cable?
No.
No. Internet?
No.
School fees are not applicable. Health costs?
No.
No. Okay. Has your household ever been disconnected or used less than you needed in relation to water, gas, and electricity because you couldn't afford it? So for water, no. Were you
Well, not that
disconnected?
you can't afford it, but you just try to reduce your use. I don't
Okay,
know if
so
that's what you mean.
you used less water?
Well, try to.
Oh, but not because you couldn't afford it.
No.
Okay, so that's no.
Try to conserve,
Gas?
No.
No. Electricity?
No.
No. Okay. Is the household income sufficient to pay all the bills without a problem?
Yeah.
More than enough? Adequate or
I
just
wouldn't say
enough?
more than enough, but adequate. Yeah,
Adequate.
it's enough.
Okay. Has there been times during the past 12 months when your household had to borrow money from financial institutions, money lenders, or pawnbrokers in order to pay for your day-to-day needs?
No.
No? Okay. Which of the following have family and friends, not part of this household, people who don't live here,
Okay.
done for this household over the past 12 months?
All right.
Gave money?
Yeah.
Lent money?
No.
No.
So that's give.
Gave food?
No.
No. Lent food?
No.
No. Gave other things?
No.
No. Lent other things? No. Taking you out for an evening?
Well, yeah, that happens.
Looked after the children of your household in the evening for free?
No. No.
No,
kids,
no. Oh,
so-
yeah, you don't have any children. That's
No.
right. I'm sorry.
No problem.
Please indicate a likelihood that your household would use the following alternative options of obtaining extra funds as a main income source. Use your own savings. Is it very likely, not likely, or never?
So you mean if I would do that if I had problems? you
Yes.
mean? Own savings? Yes, definitely.
Very likely or likely?
Very likely.
Very likely. Friends?
Yeah.
Very
Very
likely.
likely.
Family?
Definitely.
Very likely. Use your credit card?
Yes.
Very likely or likely?
Very likely.
Very likely. Social assistance like welfare?
No, I don't think I would.
Not likely or never?
Not likely.
Not likely. A loan by the bank or the credit union?
Likely.
Likely. Use coupons?
Likely.
Likely. Salary advancements?
Yeah, likely.
Likely. Private money lenders?
Yeah, maybe.
Very likely or likely?
Likely.
Likely. Sell or pawn property?
No.
Never?
Likely.
Or not likely. Extra job?
Yes. Likely.
Likely? Okay. Adult entertainment?
No.
Never?
Never.
Okay. Illegal action?
Illegal, like
Selling of
no,
drugs, etc.? No. Never?
Never.
Any other item I have not mentioned?
Not
Never?
illegal.
Okay. Does your household have any of the following debts due to non-payment or arrears as a result of financial difficulty? The mortgage is not applicable. Rent?
No.
No. Do you rent land?
No.
No.
Just a house.
Not applicable. Okay. Water?
No.
No. Electricity?
No.
Telephone, internet, cable services?
No.
No. Health costs, insurance payments?
No.
No. School fees not applicable. Any other debt?
No.
Hello, my name is Saskia Thomas and I'm a representative of the Department of Statistics. My colleague just spoke to you a bit about confidentiality. I would like to explain a little further how we can ensure this confidentiality of your individual data. Unlike other surveys, we are using a tablet device to capture the data, not via paper. This is equipped with a software which, once the interview is completed, the interviewer will show to you, the household, that they are saving this interview and they will not be able to access this information at any time after this. They bring in the tablet into the office in which we download that data straight to our databases. And as she had explained to you, at no time does the recording of your name, which was done on paper, be connected to the data which was entered into the tablet device. So again, don't be concerned about the confidentiality. We are bound to hold this data with integrity. Our interviewers at STAT have been trained not only to deal with the survey in its questions and reminding you about expenditures that might have happened 3 or 4 months so that we capture all expenditure. They've also been trained by a communication specialist, his name is Ronaldo Baker, on how to deal with whatever the circumstances as it relates to how to ask questions so that questions are capturing all the information, understanding the communication, making sure that you are understanding the question clearly as well as the answer that is being received. So these interviewers are trained for this type of questionnaire because it is different than, as we explained, other questionnaires that we have conducted in the past. If we look at specifically what you can anticipate in the first 4 visits, the first visit will cover forms 1 and 2. And visit number 2 will cover forms 3 and 11. Then on visit number 3, we will conduct 4, 5, 6, and 7. After which you will have a 4th visit on which it will cover 8, 9, 10. And then the follow-up visits, maybe 2 visits, maybe sometimes more, depending on the needs of the household, to capture those recorded expenses in your expense diary. If we look specifically on what Form 1 captures, Form 1 talks about the household composition. It will have questions about demographics, the household family relationships, the education, health and illnesses that might be present in each individual that resides in that household. The purpose of this form is to understand the household dynamics and any factors influencing spending patterns. If we were to ask what was Form 2, Form 2 is going to be about the dwelling. Here we will ask questions about the building material and the household amenities of this living accommodation, the rent and mortgage details, if that is applicable for the living accommodation, and then specifically GB, electricity and water bill, if that again is applicable to your household. The purpose is to evaluate the the furnished and unfurnished rent value of a particular property. If we look at interview number 2, where we will be conducting the forms 3, we will have household finances and social support. Now, in this form, we ask questions about the household debt, the social support system. This will help us to understand the debt management and the social behavior surrounding debt and its influences on the poverty line. Form 11, which also will be conducted in this interview, will speak about work and income of each individual. This particular form is for each individual that resides in this household, though it is possible that a reference person can answer on behalf of the other residents. Yet, it is also possible if a particular resident is not willing to divulge this information to the reference person, we can make separate appointments that that individual can be interviewed in confidentiality with the interviewer, one-on-one. Here we will be able to classify the economic status and employment status, as well as the income sources of each individual that resides in the household in determining what is the household income. Income and the calculation of disposable income is ultimately the purpose of this forum. In interview number 3, we will be discussing forms 4 through 7. In form 4, we will be discussing furnishings and household goods. Furniture, furnishings and floor coverings, household textiles and appliances, glassware, tableware and household utensils, tools, equipment, accessories, and the list goes on the detail in which we ask these questions. The purpose of this detail is so that we do not miss expenditure that might have occurred in the past, because these questionnaires are retrospective questionnaires. It is not necessarily only expenditure that happened a week ago, as you don't necessarily buy a car or a couch every day. So we ask specific intervals of, over these 4 through 10 forms, we ask specific intervals as it is applicable to that type of expenditure. Form 5 will be covering clothing, footwear, and accessories. Again, there's distinction made between men's clothing, ages 14 and above, women's clothing, ages 14 and above, and boys and girls' clothing between the ages 4 and 13, as well as baby and toddler clothing and other expenses related to babies. Other clothing expenses that weren't previously captured, such as carnival costumes and footwear and accessories. Then we will be specifically talking about healthcare in Form 6. Only those expenditures that were not covered by your insurance policy. So it is going to be something that is constantly reminded to the household. Please only mention those expenses that your insurance didn't cover. So pharmaceutical products, therapeutical appliances and other medical products, hospital services, outpatient services, dental services, and other treatments that we might have mentioned before. As additionally, we would ask specifically what the medical insurance premiums that the household pays. So remember, in these questionnaires, it's not an individual. The reference person has to collect all the expenses of each individual that resides in the household and give a collective answer. If we look at Form 7, here we're talking about transportation and communication. We will ask questions about vehicles that were purchased, vehicles that were sold or traded in, repair and maintenance costs for those vehicles with 4 tires or above, repair and maintenance costs for other types of transportation, so motorcycle, a bike, a boat, anything that the household may be in possession of. Transportation expenses, means of transportation expenses, and means and forms of communication. Form 8, which will be conducted in the 4th interview, will talk about recreation and culture. Here we are capturing expenses for traveling abroad, specifically also expenses that might have been made on the friend side, as this, in terms of survey, we consider that to be abroad expenses as it is another country. Recreational activities, Expenses for vacation on St. Martin may be on the Dutch and the French side. Audio-visual photogenic information processing equipment, sport and musical instruments, cultural equipment and services. So something as simple as having a abonnement or a subscription, to your local gym, or for your children, they are part of taekwondo, sports, anything like that would be captured in this form. Other recreational equipment or items, stationery, books, craft supplies, office supplies. So specifically those things that you would be used for school, the copybooks and the pens and the pencil case, this would be captured in this form. Educational services, so after school programs that you might be paying for, this again would be captured in this interview. Further on, we go into some specifics of Christmas and New Year related items or carnival expenses specifically. In Form 9, we talk about various expenses. Now, here we're going to be talking about personal care items, insurance, animal and animal care, charity that you might have donated to an organization, the amount that you put into the church collection, gifts that you have purchased for birthdays and special occasions, and other miscellaneous expenses that mightn't have been captured in any other interview. Here is where they have to be made known. So the questions are going to be very detailed to remind you of these type of expenses that you mightn't every day have or remember. Form 10, here we're going to talk about own produce. Now, when I say own produce, what do I mean? I mean, if your household produces something in their garden or in livestock or have a fruit tree and consumes it, this is where we capture that type of expenditure. It is a difficult category as you don't necessarily have a value that you can put to that amount. So here we're going to be asking more in terms of how many kilos or how many bunches or how many specific pieces as it relates to the fruit or vegetables that you consumed or the animals that you might have consumed, or even their byproducts such as eggs.
Good afternoon, Saskia. I'm here again from another interview. This time we're doing Form 11, which is based on your income for the household. I'll be asking questions for the 3 persons that are residing here in your household. Okay? Would you be able to answer their questions based on what I asked you?
Yeah, I do my husband next.
You can do your husband? Okay. And the age of your husband is?
By how old he is again? So 3 years older, so I 31 and he 34.
Okay. Just give it a few minutes, leave it generate his questionnaire.
That's fine.
And he had a job where he worked more than 4 hours for the past week?
Yep. He was Koyman.
Oh, he was Koyman. Okay. And just like I asked you just now, I need also from him his gross income. Would you happen to know that?
He get a raise the other day, so he like just a little bit less than me now. Like he got like 6.1 or something like that. I don't know exactly. Need me to call him?
Please, if you don't mind.
Let me call him and find out.
Okay.
Yeah. This with this lady from the statistics department. No, so she want to know about she want to know about our income. What was your gross salary again? Yeah, I know you get raised now. Check your pay slip now. He said 6150.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, bye.
And that's in Gilda's store?
Yeah. That Koyman Pay Gilda's a Dutch company.
Does he receive any overtime pay or tips or what is it?
They ain't get no overtime either. Look at cheap.
In addition to the forms and the interviews which will be conducted in the first 4 visits, we have the household expense diary. It looks like this. You will be receiving 2. to start off the household with. Now, it's possible that you'll fill the two and continue to have expenses through these consecutive 14 days. I mean, each household is different, while one household mightn't spend anything at all. All is possible. This diary is made such that you can fit it in your bag because it is something that we want you to carry along with you everywhere you go. So that the simplest expense, such as buying a newspaper on the corner or a pastiche there by the little shop close to your job, isn't forgotten. So the convenience of having it in your bag helps with recording these expenses. Additional to this diary, you will be receiving at home from the interviewer a box in which you can place centrally located in your home so that everyone just takes the receipts out of their pocket bag and box that receipt. Basically, this is also our slogan. You will be seeing it on the posters by the participating stores as well as the advertisements that will be shown on different radio stations or TV programs. We want you to remember to box the receipt. Ask for a receipt wherever you go. You will be surprised who all is able to give you a receipt. If you aren't able to get a receipt, it is even more important to have this with you so that you can record these expenses and not forget them. I would like to discuss with you a little bit what is anticipated when looking at this diary. You can see on the slide that we have an example of one of these forms being filled in. Here, something as simple as water. How would you record the water? It can be in different forms. It could be you purchased it as a case or single bottle, or you purchased a few bottles in different amounts. You might have bought in the liter bottle, and another time you bought eight fluid ounces. Now, how is it important that we capture this data? Is as much detail as you can give us. The brand is not so important, but for us, it's the details. So if it was a bottle of water with 1 liter, we would like to know this. If it was a case with 36 bottles that were all 8 fluid ounces, this needs to be recorded specifically. So the interviewer will go through a process in your first visit, giving you an example of a receipt and how to record that in your expense diary, such that the information that we're receiving is very useful to us and that we don't have after the fact errors and then cannot use this data. Also, something that I would like to point out is that each individual expense, so if you go to the Grand Marché and then in that same day you went to the gas station and in that same day you bought a newspaper, this needs to be recorded on 3 different sheets so that there's a distinction in between the store as well as the date in which these expenses were made. So as your first visit, make sure the more explanation that you need to be able to record it as accurately as possible, the interviewer is there to assist you. Thank you. And please just remember to box that receipt